Hey everybody, welcome to Spiky Saturday number 173 on the Leek. I'm John as always, and we've got ourselves one second last pack of Guilds of Ravnica. Why the second last? Well, because December 11th, 18th, and 25th, we're going to be cracking open packs of Ultimate Masters, and the same sponsored pack thing exists. If you are a Patreon backer at the $5 level or above for the month of December, you will get a chance to win each week the cards in those Ultimate Masters packs, as well as the Guilds of Ravnica pack next week, and whatever we figure out for New Year's Eve. But for this week, we're still on Guilds of Ravnica, so go and check out that at patreon.com/themanaleek, $5 or more, to get a chance to win, just like Jason Wright this week. We'll get all these cards, or none of these cards, or whatever Jason happens to want. But we're going to crack this open, see what's in it, and see what we would take pack one, pick one, if this was a draft. Up first, we've got ourselves a Passwall Adept. Passwall Adept is 1 and a blue for a creature, human, wizard. It's a 1/3, pay 2 and a blue, target creature can't be blocked until, this turn. It's fine, it does what it needs to do in some decks. It's half of a way of winning the game if you don't have another one. It's not, however, anywhere near a first pick, but you'll typically play it. Maximize Velocity is a single red mana for a sorcery. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains haste until end of turn, and you can jumpstart it. Never really found a home for this. There are certainly some Is-It decks that just want more and more and more spells, and this is a way of doing it, but they're pretty rare, and there's better spells out there. So Maximize Velocity, not typically playable, certainly not first pickable. Up next is Karen Dissident. Karen Dissident is 1 and a green for a creature elf warrior. She's a 2/2, and you can pay 4 and a green, and Karen Dissident gets +2/+2 until end of turn. You can do that multiple times a turn if you happen to have, 10 mana or 15 mana somehow. She's fine. She's a bear when you need her, and she's a 4/4 later in the game. It's totally fine filler. Nowhere near a first pick, though. Up next is Somali Woodshaper. Somali Woodshaper is 2 green white for a creature elf druid. She's a 2/1. When Somali Woodshaper enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or enchantment card from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order, and shuffle that library. She's fine, but Selesnya is so bad in this set that she's kind of one of the better commons you can get in that deck, and that's kind of sad. You'll never first pick her, and if you're drafting properly, you'll never play her, because you won't be playing Selesnya. Up next is Devious Cover Up. Devious Cover Up is 2 blue for an instant counter target spell. If that spell is countered in this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. And you can also return up to 4 target cards from your graveyard to your library. Yeah, this card's good. Counter spells are pretty darn good in this format. This one, Sinister Sabotage, even Disdainful Stroke is fine. This one, of course, if you get 2 of them, you can never, ever mill yourself, because you just keep countering spells. Your opponent's going to have to stop playing cards for you to counter, for you to not just continuously loop 4 amazing cards in your library. It's super solid. I wouldn't really want to first pick it, but it is currently the clear first pick out of the 5 cards we've seen so far. Up next is Rhizome Lurcher. Rhizome Lurcher is 2 black-green for a 2/2, but it does have Endergrowth. It gets a +1/+1 counter when it ETBs for each creature in your graveyard. This is fine. This is kind of the glue of a Golgari deck. There's not too many great Undergrowth triggers, and this one is certainly a decent one. This can relatively easily be a 5/5 or a 6/6. It doesn't often get bigger than that, but when it does, it is real threatening. If you are in Golgari, and again, it's one of the 2 guilds that you typically don't really want to be in, you're going to want to get yourself some of these Rhizome Lurchers, but they're never a first pick. Up next is Skyknight Legionnaire. Well, that's a first pick, and coincidentally enough, one of our first Boros cards that we've seen. Skyknight Legionnaire is 1 red-white for a creature human knight. It's a 2/2 with flying and haste. All of that is good. All of that is great for the casting cost. You will happily first pick these and jump into Boros and just wreck face. Skyknight Legionnaire, certainly the first pick right now. Up next is Darkblade Agent. Darkblade Agent is 1 blue-black for a creature human assassin. It's a 2/3. As long as you've surveilled this turn, Darkblade Agent has Death Touch and, quote, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Darkblade Agent's decent. If you're in Dimir, you're going to be fairly happy with one of these as long as you have some amount of Surveil, and surprise, you're going to have some amount of Surveil because Surveil is so ludicrously overrepresented compared to all other cards. Stay tuned sometime in the next month and a half for a Guilds of Ravnica post-mortem, and discussing Surveil is going to be a big part of that video. But yeah, Darkblade Agent is solid in the deck, but it's not a first pick like skyknight Legionnaire is. Up next is Centaur Peacemaker. We're getting all the 3-drops in the guilds here. Centaur Peacemaker is 1 green white for a creature Centaur Cleric. It's a 3/3, and when it ETBs, each player gains 4 life. This is okay. It's a 3/3 for 3, and it makes the game go a little bit longer, which if you're Selesnya, you're maybe wanting to get into a big creature or something. But more likely, you have this in a gate deck, and you're just looking to get your bombs and get your gates and get your colors going, and that 4 extra life is going to keep you alive. Yeah, it keeps your opponent alive a little bit better too, but ideally your end game is going to be a lot bigger. So it's a totally fine card, it's just nowhere near a first pick. And hello, not only do we have a very first pickable card here, but that also means that we have, I do believe, a foil in this pack. Affectionate Indrik is 5 and a green for a creature beast. It's a 4/4. When Affectionate Indrik enters the battlefield, you may have it fight target creature you don't control. It's great. It's removal. There's not much removal in green. There's this and Prey Upon, I believe, and this is just solid. Being in green is not the best, but this is certainly a card that will put you down there and have you have a higher quality green deck than probably anybody else at the table by taking this card. Affectionate Indrik, very, very good. Certainly a potential first pick here. Up next is Invert and Invent. Invert is a single Izzet mana. Switch the power and toughness of up to two target creatures until end of turn, of course. Not printed on the card, but that is how the card works. Invent is 4 blue-red. Search your library for an instant card and or a sorcery card. Reveal them, put them into your hand, and then shuffle your library. Invert is not very good. That just doesn't do anything. Of course, I've seen people say, well, it kills walls. That doesn't matter. If a wall of mist is a problem, there's other ways around it or over it or through it. Invert is not what you want to be siding it against walls. What I have heard is people using it with Vidalcan Mesmerist because nobody wants the Mesmerists and nobody wants this card, and you attack with a Mesmerist and, make this skyknight Legionnaire an 0/2 and suddenly Invert kills a skyknight Legionnaire, and that sounds a whole lot better. But you've got to get the Invert, and there's going to be less than 1 copy of these on average in each pod, so it's cute, but I don't see it happening very often. Invent, on the other hand, is garbage. It's just garbage. You don't have that many instants and sorceries in your deck. They're not going to be that amazing. Paying 5 mana to go and get them is just not worth it. This card, super duper, not worth it. Do not play it, unless you get that really cute combo going. Up next is Hellkite Welp. Hellkite Welp is 4 and a red for a creature dragon. It's a 3/3 with flying, and whenever Hellkite Welp attacks, it deals 1 damage to each creature defending player controls. This is okay, but it's really expensive. Boros doesn't really want 5-drops unless they are ending the game, and this doesn't quite end the game. Is it maybe could be okay with this, but again, they'd rather have 5-drop spells like Hypothesizzle and such. So Hellkite Welp just hasn't really had a home. It's been okay in both red decks, but it's not really where you want to be in it. Certainly not a first pick, certainly not compared to Indrik or Legionnaire. Our rare, before we get to the foil, our rare is Quasi Duplicate. Quasi Duplicate is 1 blue for a sorcery. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, and it has a jump start. Quasi Duplicate is good. It's really good. The things that you can duplicate are crazy. Duplicating a Murmuring Mystic, duplicating a Wee Dragonauts, duplicating a Watcher in the Mist is disgusting. This card is super, super, super good. Definitely a strong first pick, and works amazingly in Izzet and pretty darn well in Dimir. So Quasi Duplicate's certainly going to hang out in this frame. But let's see what the foil is. The foil is Golgari Raiders. Not very exciting and kind of a dim foil. I've seen better foils. Golgari, actually, it looks like it's ghosted slightly. Weird. Probably won't come up on camera, but it looks like there's a ghosting. Like the black text is slightly off center on the foil layer or something. Anyways, Golgari Raiders is 3 and a green for a creature elf warrior. It's a 0/0 with haste, but it has undergrowth and ETBs with counters equal to the number of creatures in your graveyard, just like rhizome lurchers. It's okay. It's not great. You don't really want to end up in Golgari, and unlike affectionate Indrik, which could put you into Golgari because it's super good, this isn't quite on that level. And we've got ourselves a Selesnya Guildgate, which we're not first picking. So really the question comes down to, I think, the Indrik or the quasi duplicate. I think the Legionnaire is slightly outclassed here, but it is still very good. And I think I'm probably just going with the quasi duplicate. Blue is really, really good. Both blue guilds are at the top of this format. Both green guilds are at the bottom of this format, so I think I have to go with quasi-duplicate. If this was not a good rare and we were still looking at Legionnaire versus Indrik, I think this would be one of the drafts where I edge into green and see what I can do with it. But it's not. We've got quasi-duplicate, so we're going to take that. Let me know what you've taken in the comments down below. Would you have taken the duplicate, the Indrik, the Legionnaire, or something else? Let me know down there. As always, you can, if you have questions and comments or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at @TheManaLeek. That's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card. You can find me at Facebook.com/TheManaLeek, Twitch.tv/TheManaLeek, and Patreon.com/TheManaLeek, where if you become a backer at the $5 level or above, you are entered each week to get all the cards in the pack, just like Jason did this week. And remember, if you get in there before December 1st, it's going to be Ultimate Masters packs for 3 weeks of December. So if you want a chance for that, make sure you get in there by December 1st. If you like the content, click that thumbs up button. Click subscribe if you want to see more. And if you do have questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you all next time.